this is something that's near and dear to my heart, and this is good for both of us because, you were a player at the highest level, professional athlete, and you've also been in this business for a long time. So you've had both sides. You know me, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool reporter. Despite the television, despite the radio show, all that other stuff, I am a sports writer. That's what I am.
Yes.
I've never wavered from that. You've never seen me put on a team uniform or call some team my team or any of that because I'm just not, that's not what I do, okay? But this story, and Rob G., can you jump in with us? This story from Colorado and Deion and the university and a columnist there, it just bothers the hell out of me. It really does. And as mad as I am of Deion and the university, I'm more upset, Ephraim, of the reporters who work there in Colorado who cover the Buffaloes. But, Rob G., spell it out first, and Ephraim, I'll tell you why.
This story is a doozy. I sent the notes earlier in the afternoon. I'm sure you guys both saw it. And then I saw this after the fact. I didn't even bother to update the email. I just texted Rob directly. You're doing this one because I know exactly what you're going to come out guns blazing. Colorado, the athletic department, specifically their football program, has informed the Denver Post that Deion Sanders and anyone else within their football program will no longer take questions from columnist Sean Keeler. In a statement sent to the Post, Colorado said that they have received a, quote, series of sustained personal attacks in Keeler's coverage of the program. When asked for specific examples on how they personally were attacked by Keeler, they referenced a handful of stories which use phrases such as, quote, false prophet, deposition Deion, Planet Prime, the Bruce Lee of BS, the Deion Kool-Aid, and overall describing the program as a, quote, circus.
Ephraim, here's why I'm mad.
Okay.
Here's why I'm mad. Forget about Deion and Colorado. Shame on them, okay? Big babies. Do you remember when Colorado won its first game?
Yeah.
Last year,
Yep,
you remember?
I do. Yep.
And what did Deion do in the very first game? What did he do? He called out Ed Warder. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Right, Rob G? Was it Ed Warder?
Yep.
He said, now what do you think? You remember that?
Yeah.
Called him out of the first game. Okay. Here's my problem. Forget Colorado. Forget the football team. If you're members of the media, not only from the Denver Post, but from all the newspapers, TV, and radio stations that cover that football team, they should refuse to cover Colorado football if they're going to exclude a columnist from doing his job. Ephraim, they have every right not to answer a question from that guy. Do you hear me? You're not obligated, Ephraim. If I'm go up to you and I say, Ephraim, what happened on that play, whatever, or whatever you whiffed and the quarterback lost the ball, whatever it is, okay? You could say to me, no comment. And I have to respect that. Do you understand? There's a difference between letting a guy do his job and you not participating. But when you tell a guy that he can't do his job or he can't be around, if you're a member of the media not working for the Denver Post and you're with another outlet, if you allow Deion and Colorado to do this to this columnist, the stuff that he said, Ephraim, is nothing. That's what columnists do. There was once a general manager in Detroit named Jerry Walker. I think he's passed away now. And Ephraim, his big thing was he couldn't get pitching for the Tigers. You know what nickname I gave? He could never make a trade to get pitching. I gave him the nickname Dr. Doolittle. Okay? That's not bad, right? Because he couldn't get any trades done. Randy Smith was another Tiger general manager. I gave him the nickname Rancid Randy. anything he touched just turned to goo. All right? And my point is, as a columnist, that's the license you get, right? Your opinion to be witty, whatever. And people have a right to want to talk to me or not answer my question. That's fine. But to single out a guy and tell him that he can't participate or ask any questions is unheard of, and the rest of the media cannot allow this to happen.
Well, okay. Now, it's our job to be objective, right? Right? Like you said, the first thing you said on this is, I don't claim a team. I'm a reporter.
Yes.
I'm just, my opinion, the facts, the whole 9 yards. But what happens when your objective opinion starts to become subjective, right? When you start to, really lash out at somebody, personally.
But wait.
Go ahead.
What's personal? Personal is
when you start saying false prophet.
But personal is your fat or your wife is this. No. I'm just hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. There's a degree of that. I think there's a poetic license that comes with being a columnist, more so than a beat writer. If you're covering the team, you're not really supposed to put your opinion in it. But opinions from columnists, I don't believe in this program. You have to, as a columnist, that's what people, what do you think? Is Colorado real or fake? Is Deion a good coach or a bad coach? Well, that's what a columnist does. So if he says Deion's a bad coach, is that personal?
But that's not what he was saying. Rob, can you give us some of those things that he had said again that you listed off?
Sure. The phrases were used as follows. Quote, false prophet, deposition Deion, Planet Prime, the Bruce Lee of BS,
okay,
the Deion Kool-Aid, and describing the program as, quote, a circus.
Right. Now, that's not saying I don't think Deion Sanders is a good coach, and this is why. That's not saying Colorado is not a good program. They don't have enough talent. That's you're going a step beyond. And I know, look, and I get it. We live in an age now where we're inundated with podcasts and reporters and shows. And so, in a sense, you do want to stick out. You don't want to be like everybody else, right? If everybody's like, well, this is happening and that's not happening. So you go a little bit further, right? False prophet, the Bruce Lee of BS. Like, all of these things are now feeling like they're personal attacks. They're very subjective instead of objective. You do see that, right? Like it.
No,
but if they consistently come at that type of clip, then it's like, oh, okay, well, what are we doing?
No, he doesn't believe in the program or what Deion is selling. And as a columnist that gives his opinion, he should have that right. And sometimes, you know what, Ephraim? You're right. And sometimes you're wrong.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So that does happen. I've done it. I didn't think I thought the Matt Millen hire in Detroit was the worst hire in the history of sports. Okay. And I said it. And guess what? I think I was right on that as far as him being an executive. Not that he couldn't play, won 4 Super Bowls.
But
and
what
all
did you say? Did you say did you say he's not a good hire as a GM? This is why I don't believe he's a good hire.
I said that fans should form the Millen Man March and march his butt out of town.
Okay, good. Okay, that's great.
Okay. So I wanted his job. I wanted him to be fired.
Yep.
And I thought that he should be because he didn't do a good job. Now, everything's attached to you, so I know people say, well, that's personal. Well, I'm talking about you as a football coach or GM or whatever, not about Deion Sanders, the father, the husband, whatever, in your personal life. And all I'm saying, and help me with this.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
About the rest of the media, though.
Yes.
Is what I'm asking.
I do understand you saying, hey, we need to take a stand because this is bull. You can't pick and choose who you want to talk to and who you want, what you want them to write and all that. I understand that aspect.
Okay.
But I also understand accountability for the things that you say. I understand that as well. And when it stops becoming about what you're writing or what you're trying, the message you're trying to get across, the things that you're trying to expose or say, and more about the one-line quips that you can, clickbait out there like that. When you start doing the whole false prophet thing, the Kool-Aid, and now you're taking it a little bit deeper. And these aren't all in one article. This is over a course of a year. So you would be like, oh, okay, man, but dang, okay, well, what, right? Like, that's the part I'm not understanding, right? Like, look, they started off with a bang. They didn't end with a bang. So now I'm going to really attack. I'm going to attack, show people that Deion is full of it, this and that, all of those things. Like, to me, it's like I'm going to prove to you and show you that Deion Sanders is a fraud. But is Deion Sanders a fraud as a coach because of 1 year in the Pac-12, coming from HBCU, changing that program?
But that's somebody's opinion. The same way that if they signed when they signed Daniel Jones, I'm sure there were columnists in New York said, "What a big mistake! This guy can't play. Why would you pay him?" Or players drafted. You see it all the time. What a mistake! Why would you draft this guy? This guy's going to be a bust. Or when a player winds up being a bust, is that wrong for a columnist?
No.
Who am I thinking of? The basketball player, Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown.
Okay,
yep.
He doesn't want people. I'm not a bust or whatever, dude. You were the first overall pick, and you didn't live up to what people thought would be the expectations of that.
People thought
that. Okay, but that's what a columnist does, Ephraim.
Right, I understand that, and I get it.
So that's my opinion.
Yes.
That I think you're a bust. You don't have to agree with it. And that's what I'm trying to say. Deion doesn't have to agree with it. And if Deion personally says to that columnist when he asks him a question, no comment, I'm cool with that. Do you understand what I'm? Mm-hmm. Deion doesn't have to talk to him. But to single him out and try to intimidate all the other reporters that if you don't get in line and if you say anything off center, you'll be next. That's what that message is.
Yeah, but I don't think so because, there's been some harsh criticisms of Deion and the program starting the way they did and then finishing in the way they did. Like, no one really had glowing things to say in terms of how the program ended up. So that's not something that's like, oh, okay, he's doing this. No, we get that. Everybody, I had something to say about it. You had something to say about it. We all talked about it. Was all, we thought the season was going to go a little bit different. They came out, they beat a ranked team, and then they faltered, right? Then we started realizing why. All right, offensive line, no offensive line there. Defensive line, like they just didn't have the talent to compete at that level with the overhaul of scholarship players leaving and new ones coming in. They just didn't have the talent. We saw that. Now, we weren't saying, oh, Deion is a false prophet. Oh, Deion is all hype. Oh, they really drinking the Kool-Aid out there. Like, we were very critical, hypercritical of what was happening in Colorado. But did you ever think that Deion couldn't resonate with young players? He couldn't tap in to young players. Yeah,
but that's it. It's that columnist's opinion.
You're right,
he can be wrong, Ephraim, and you could be right. But that doesn't mean that
it doesn't change his opinion.
Deion can dictate
per his
who
contract,
can and can't, and that's the issue.
Per his contract, it can. That's the contract he signed.